We have with us Nikhad Abbas, who is a spokesperson of the Congress party. We have Amar Patnaik, who is a former MP, RS of the BJD, and we'll also be joined by Shazia Ilmi of the BJP. We also have Professor Geeta Bhatt, who's a director at DU. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Mr. Patnaik, to you first, sir. What more do you think that the state government could have done? Because this clearly shows a lot of loopholes. This was a student who was protesting hard from the 4th of July. Clearly, all her pleas went completely unanswered. Where do you think the problems began? What do you think the government, the state government, and especially even the autonomous college authorities, what should they have done?
See, I think the most important thing is that she was being harassed over quite a long period of time, and the internal complaints committee of the college, of the university, which should have been in place and should have looked into this issue with compassion and with objectivity and independence, probably didn't do that. And she was not satisfied. She was being coerced to withdraw her petition against the professor, and then she went to appeal. And you look at these appellate authorities, who are the local MLA, the local member of parliament, and the education minister, the chief minister. She tweeted, and all of them, mind you, belong to her party because she belonged to an ABVP. She was an ABVP, Karyakarta. So what basically is appalling in this particular incident is that all the senior authorities whom she approached basically failed her. And so the system is such that if the college fails to redress the grievance of a potential victim like this, then what is the appellate authorities? What are they doing? What is the kind of response they need to have had in place?
Absolutely.
Now, this is something very shocking.
That's a very important question, Mr. Patnaik. Nikhad Abbas, the BJP is also saying that there's no cover-up. The accused has been arrested. A fact-finding team has been constituted by the centre. At least action is being taken. How do you see this?
You said it is that the people are calling it as an institutional murder. I'd rather say that it is a very, very conscious institutional murder. I know some panelists may call it a suicide, but it is clearly not a suicide, because when a girl constantly, who was humiliated, who was harassed, she constantly pleaded the authorities for justice. She constantly said to the authorities that it is delayed action, that the delayed action is being taken. I might die. Come on, rise up and take an action against the culprit. Despite of that fact, the authorities chose to protect the professor and not help the victim. I want to know, what was the BJP government doing all this time? Were you trying to sleep, or trying to just make people believe that you're sleeping and you are not able to understand what exactly has happened in this institution? Why is that the education minister has not resigned yet? Why is that the BJP government, the Modi government, is once again mute on it? Why is that we call it, we name it like a new India, but is this the new India where the girl has to burn herself to death to be heard? I want to know that what is Beti Bachao? Where was it?
Okay. Shazia Ilmi, you heard both the BJD and the Congress person out. Well, they're asking questions. How do you respond? Yes.
BJP leaders are constantly.
Okay, let's give a chance to Shazia to respond. Shazia, how do you see these accusations? Because this is a shocking incident, and I know that even you would condemn this. Everybody condemns this, but clearly there's something more that the state government could have done. Do you think that the centre could also have put in more scrutiny to ensure that our girls are safe in educational institutions at least?
Good evening, Vasudha, and good evening to you and to all the panelists and all your viewers. The incident in Odisha is truly heartbreaking, and I think somewhere it's really sent those shock waves. That a citizen of this country, a young girl, would have to resort to self-immolation of the kind that she did to seek justice is really a big, big blot on the collective conscience of a society, of a country. As a woman, I feel hurt and outraged, and as somebody from the party, from the BJP, and it is my party which is in power there, I would not like to get into whataboutery, but take full responsibility. So this is not about reckless rhetoric, but full responsibility. It's indeed very sad. And I don't even know what to say. I mean, I really think whether it's the internal complaints committee or the principal, they are equally to be blamed, because this is what the principal is supposed to do. So the HOD, the principal and the internal complaints committee, they did nothing about it. And there were many of these letters that went back and forth, and there were messages out there. Yes, while it's very easy and it's important because the buck does stop at the level of the CM and the Home Minister, Education Minister, and all of that. You please see what was going on with this young girl. I just wish, one could have counseled her and not to take her life in this very sad, heartbreaking manner, heart-wrenching manner. But I would like to say that you must also remember this, Vasudha, and it's very sad, and I hate to say this, but she was from ABVP, and there's evidence, suggesting that there were student wing and other opposition parties who were harassing her and victim shaming her. And I think the kind of ecosystem we're talking about for young girls. So are we so vicious and political that a tragedy of a woman would be treated as a political bargaining point? I'm not running away from my responsibility. That's the first thing I said. I'm not even talking about RG Kaur or what TMC is doing and what happened in Rajasthan under BJP, under Congress's rule. None of that. I'm not even going there. All I'm saying is today that while I take full responsibility because it is my party and I wish the system was not so cruel to this young girl who we've lost today, it's quite shameful. Yeah. But Vasudha, the point I want to make is that can grief be treated like a political bargaining chip? Can we not allocate more honesty? And can we also tell our student bodies that just because somebody is from an ideology or a party that does not subscribe to yours, that you also could have provided some source of solace and comfort as fellow students? Because her mental state was terrible. Everybody failed her. But her own students, because she was from ABVP,
have some breaking news also. UGC has formed a 4-member fact-finding panel to examine this Odisha case. Mr. Patnaik, you heard Shazia out, and she's saying that while there's no question of whataboutery in this case, rape cannot be used as part of politics. And this thing that has been going around, at least on X, that there were people from several political groups, student groups, that were also involved in character assassination of this particular student. How do you see these allegations? I know that there's only an inquiry that can tell us what really happened, what did the girl go through, and that's very important for us to prevent incidents like this in future. But how do you see such allegations?
These kind of allegations, victim shaming and all, this of course can be proved only after detailed investigation. And in fact, that's why I've tweeted that probably not just a normal administrative inquiry would be adequate, and what would probably be required is a judicial probe, so that everybody's role could probably be examined. But more importantly, I think we have to now come to a point that the internal complaint mechanism, which is the fallout of the Visakha judgment of the Supreme Court, isn't probably really working. And that's where we have to really come in to think that maybe the dice is loaded in favor of any such victim, not just in this case, but everywhere else. And therefore, a separate mechanism probably should evolve in which there is a supervision and supervisory control over the functioning and results of the ICM internal control complaints committees, findings and
absolutely, that's a very important point.
In this case, incidentally, the internal control committee, incidentally, in this case, gave a clean chit to the accused, and therefore she was driven into
Geeta Bhatt works in DU. Ma'am, as somebody who works in a college administration, do you feel that the ICCs that Mr. Patnaik is also talking about, are they just on paper? Because if we talk about the third party, there's UGC, there's also the education department. How many third party bodies are we going to create? Because there is going to be scrutiny at all levels, and there are powerful people at every level. So clearly there are layers of power that a woman like this particular survivor or victim has to go through. In colleges, are the internal committees just on paper?
Vasudha, you see, Internal Complaints Committee is a mandatory body or mandatory committee that needs to be constituted by every educational institution, which is part and follows the UGC norms, which is the regulatory body of higher education. And it is not so that, the Internal Complaints Committee in educational institutions, they are very, very active and they take cognizance of any complaint that comes to them, and it is their job that they need to look into it, because they have to submit their report within 90 days to the institution. There is a time frame in which the report has to be submitted, but it is very unfortunate. My heart goes out to this girl's family, near one, and I think as a society, the society failed her, the not getting any kind of a protection, not getting any kind of comfort, that she was driven to take such an extreme step. Right. And in this case, the ICC had given that professor a clean sheet, and that, as it seems, had driven her to take such an extreme step.
Absolutely.
This shows that there was within the institution there were forces which were trying to protect her, or otherwise, if had there been the investigation done by the Internal Complaints Committee was not fair, it was not transparent, and that was the reason.
So absolutely. So we need bodies to actually monitor how the ICCs are working. Last closing remarks from Nikhat and Shazia. Nikhat, you go first.
Yeah, Vasudha, I think it is very easy said than done. You always, when you are on a panel and you are facing the viewers of the nation, you obviously say that, we need to show the solidarity and the actions should be taken. But really, the actions are to be taken, but we do not see any actions which are being taken against these culprits. I mean, had it been the case that the action was not delayed by the college authorities and the principal did not delay the action, I think that girl would have been alive. We are sitting here talking about that we should show the solidarity to the family and the victim. How do we do that? Now when the girl is gone, the girl has died. Is it not the institution?
Absolutely, completely out of time. Shazia, quickly your response, ma'am.
Yeah, so whether as a principal, obviously my colleague from the Congress party is not up to speed and doesn't know the facts. But let me tell her, whether as a principal or the accused teacher or the professor in charge of the faculty member has been arrested. But more than that, I think people who are sitting on this committee and all the colleagues who were harassing her should also be part of FIR, because they all are complicit in something so cruel and making a young girl lose her life. So
absolutely. Thank you all of you. I'm completely out of time. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. This is the story of a girl who wrote, warned, waited, and of course then she died. And this is not just about one girl in Odisha. It's about every girl who's told to stay silent, and for every system that fails her. And just to remind you, UGC has also constituted a 4-member fact-finding committee to look into this tragic suicide of a college student in Balasore.